Hey, it's me, Riker. Today we're going to have a look at Merlin, Seer of Destiny from the Dimensional faction. Now this hero wears cloth-based gear, is part of the support class, and his primary role is to provide a significant amount of damage reduction and healing for your teammates. So let's have a look at his skills. His ultimate skill, Destiny Foreseen. Merlin foresees impending danger, allowing him to reduce the damage received by himself and all allies by 25% for 8 seconds. While Merlin's premonition is still occurring, if an enemy that is symmetrically positioned uses their ultimate skill, so this is directly opposite him, all allied heroes will receive a runic shield that has a value of 180% of their own max health, which exists for 5 seconds. While the shield exists, it prevents enemy control effects and cannot be dispelled. If a premonition is still in effect when Merlin uses his ultimate skill again, the duration of the skill shall be reset. All damage received by his allied heroes is reduced by 30 and 35% for the following two upgrades. Now this is for that 8-second duration. Let's have a look at his next ability, Magical Amelioration. Merlin calls upon the forces of magic to heal himself and his most injured ally for 4% max health per second over 8 seconds. 30% of all damage dealt to this injured ally during the healing period is borne by Merlin. So this is essentially a transfer of damage to Merlin himself. The level 2, 3 and 4 increase the amount of healing to 6% per second for the duration of 8 seconds. His next ability, Karmic Law, which is a passive. When Merlin is suffering from the effects of an enemy control skill, he dispels majority of the negative effects currently affecting him and lets loose his spirit owl. This is his little pet, who proceeds to imprison the source of the effect for 3 seconds, causing them to lose health equal to 150% of Merlin's attack rating every second. This skill cannot be dispelled. This skill can be triggered once every 8 seconds. The level 2, enemies lose 170% of Merlin's attack rating. The level 3, the skill can be triggered once every 6 seconds. And the 30 engravings, enemies lose 180% over the duration of 3 seconds. His next ability, Guardian Owl, which is a passive. When Merlin suffers fatal damage the first time he enters a spirit form and seeks refuge in his spirit owl. While in the spirit form, Merlin protects his most injured ally, during which time both Merlin and the ally recover 10% max health per second over 7 seconds. When Merlin stops protecting the ally, he reappears in his original position. If the allied target dies while Merlin is protecting them, Merlin will prematurely reappear in his original position. This skill may only be used when there are surviving allies still on the battlefield. The level 2, damage received by the ally while Merlin is in spirit form is reduced by 30%. The level 3, value of health restored is increased by 15% per second over the duration. And the level 4, damage received by the ally whose Merlin is protecting while he's in the spirit form is reduced by 40% damage. Let's have a look at his signature item. When you unlock the signature item, while in the skill Magical Amelioration is in effect, 10% of the damage dealt by the protected ally target is converted into health for both Merlin and the ally target. So this is additional healing that he can provide for himself and his ally. The level 10, 20, 30% of the damage dealt by the protected ally is converted into health for both Merlin and the allied target. And the 30, the amount of health Merlin loses as a result of bearing damage for his ally when using the skill Magical Amelioration is reduced by half, and the skill now targets 2 allies. So now he can heal more allied targets and he can reduce the amount of incoming damage for himself and his fellow allies. So let's have a look at his furniture. Now, when you unlock his 3 out of 3 furniture, the duration of the skill Destiny Foreseen is extended by 50%, so that 8 seconds becomes now 12 seconds, and that 5 seconds becomes 7.5 seconds. So this is a pretty significant buff. And the 9 out of 9, Merlin can immediately use his ultimate Destiny foreseen when he enters the battlefield. So this is a pretty significant buff where he can provide additional shielding, healing, and damage reduction for his teammates. So let's have a look at how he does in battle. Now, usually he's placed in dimensional heavy teams where he is surrounded by allies such as Albedo, and in this case we have Arthur over here, where he can provide a significant amount of damage reduction and healing for his teammates. Now, usually he needs a secondary healer, such as in this case it will be Taylene, in order to pick up any healing that Merlin over here cannot pick up, as his primary role is to provide that shield and that damage reduction that he can provide to his teammates. Now, as soon as the battle starts, he uses his Destiny Foreseen buff. Now, Nara over here cannot pull him and is immediately stunned by Merlin's abilities. Now, this allows your teammates to use their abilities, such as Odin over here can slowly start grouping up the enemies on top of this hero over here being Nara. And as we can see, Merlin did not get pulled a single time by Nara or is affected by any control effect that the enemy has. Now, usually he's not the main source of healing. However, he provides a significant amount of damage reduction through his abilities. Now, he is usually used in PvP or arena based teams. So as I mentioned before, he's used in dimensional heavy teams, as in this case over here, where we can see that he's benefited highly from heroes such as Albedo, Ainz, Arthur, and Ezio over here. In addition, he's also used in one of the strongest PvP teams at the moment, being in the Brutus Dimensional based team, where he provides a significant amount of control, immunity, and shields for the frontline allies such as Brutus and Albedo over here. So, what is the minimum investment that I would recommend into Merlin? So, Merlin usually requires his 30 out of 30 signature item unlock, as this allows him to heal 2 allies at once and significantly reduces the amount of damage that is inflicted upon them. This allows him, as we can see, heal 2 allies, and also he's able to convert more healing for his allies through his 20, 10, and his unlock of his signature item. This is that life leech component that he applies to himself and his allied hero. Now, especially if this is an extremely powerful or single target based allied hero, this provides a massive amount of healing for them and himself. Now, the one I highly recommend for him is getting his 9 out of 9 furniture. This essentially allows him to use his ultimate immediately as he gets onto the battle and provides the damage reduction necessary for your teammates to survive and use all of their abilities necessary. Now, his engravings are optional. However, in order to sometimes outspeed the enemy Merlin, such as in PvP or other arena-based combat, I would highly recommend getting his haste stat, as we can see over here, his haste, which essentially what this allows him to use his abilities faster, generate energy quicker, and provide all the necessary damage and healing that he provides for his teammates.